Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
I would recommend Angel Care to anybody. They have really helped me regain my strength.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible. Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
I couldn't have survived this without Angels Care.
Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. Thanks for watching, and thanks to our producer, as always, Jeff Durall. We're at the Hayes Arts Council with Brenda Meder, Executive Director of the Hayes Arts Council. And this particular Community Connection is about Brenda Meder, not the Hayes Arts Council. But as Jeff and I were talking earlier, Brenda Meder is the Hayes Arts Council.
Oh, well, thank you. But to be honest, I could do everything that I wanted to do. I could have every idea in the world. But if there wasn't a community who also believed in it, if there weren't schools who found it valid for the students, if there wasn't membership and sponsors and underwriters who wanted to support it, it wouldn't matter what I thought or what I did or what I believed. So I'm incredibly flattered by that. And that's why you want to work hard when you believe that there not only is what you're doing good, but that there's a community who believe likewise, that the schools believe likewise, that your members believe likewise, and that the people who run businesses in downtown Hayes believe likewise. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter what I thought or did or conceptualized. So it really does have to be the big picture, and the big picture cannot be accomplished or completely facilitated by one individual, ever. I don't care if it's something at the university, if it's our city government, or it's the Hayes Arts Council. So it's all about the big picture.
But with that enthusiasm and with that passion for the arts that she brings to it, you can see why. 25 years ago, we're taping this on September 17. 25 years ago to the day, Brenda Meder came through the door of the Hayes Arts Council.
I did. It was strange when I unlocked the door this morning. I took just an extra little moment and thought, wow, this is weird. But yeah, it was 25 years ago today that I walked in as the director for the first time.
How did that happen?
People were desperate. What can I say? No, I had been at the, I'd actually been an administrative assistant, not a director in any way, an administrative assistant at the Chamber of Commerce for 3 years prior to coming here. And my background had always been in the arts, theater specifically.
Well, let's start back with Victoria High School.
Oh,
with
Victoria
the class
High School.
plays.
Oh, the plays and the
performances.
forensics.
Yes.
Oh, that I always loved that stuff. I remember writing some goofy fairy princess farce, naturally coming from me. It would have to be when I was like in 6th grade or something, and we almost did it for a class, and I guess the teacher thought better, I don't know. But I always loved the arts. I mean, I was always drawing, even though the theater was a thing. When you're young, you're not going to be, that's not something you're going to be doing, you know, in your bedroom or late at night or on weekends. But I did always draw a lot. Not that I was ever that great at it. It was, that classic sort of early, pre-teen, early teen thing where you're drawing pretty ladies and you're drawing costumes and designing things and making every picture look a little different and lots of big eyes with long lashes and fluffy hair. And but I always enjoyed drawing. And in fact, did it later on, doing a little more portrait kind of things. I've always enjoyed, creativity in the arts in any capacity. But theater and performing in that way is what really lit my fire. And we didn't get to do a lot of productions at the high school. There was always a junior play. You did that to, help raise funds for the prom and all that good kind of stuff. But then forensics, you could do that as a sophomore through senior when I was in high school. And so I was always doing the dramatic interp things, the individual acting kind of events. Absolutely loved it. And majored in communication when I started at Fort Hayes. But I was always either working full-time or part-time when I was in college. And so it was a few years before I ever, though, actually auditioned for the first main stage production. I was doing acting classes and directing classes and taking the standard communication, array of things. But it was actually a few years into college before I actually did the first main stage production.
Which was?
Arms and the Man by George Bernard Shaw. Lloyd Ferrer directed it. And it was just, wonderfully exciting. Loved every minute of it. But that semester I made up for it. It was like, that was the show that auditioned in January. And then one of the classes I was enrolled in that semester was a Shakespeare class. And we produced Taming of the Shrew. And so I got to so I was cast as that, and we were working on it. And then I was having such a good time that then the final show of the spring semester was Lillian Hillman's Children's Hour. Auditioned for that and got a wonderful role, played the older grandmother in that. 2 weeks after that was done, we were time to put on stage the Shakespeare production, Taming of the Shrew, in which I got to play, like I said, Catherine the Shrew. So in the course of like 3.5 months, I did 3 major productions on stage at Fort Hays, and just loved it. And continued off and on, sometimes more shows, sometimes less. You know, you've got family and children and life and jobs, but always stayed involved and doing shows. And then had a little bit of a hiatus between my undergrad degree and going back for my master's degree, which I actually went back to get because some grad assistant had sort of just dropped off the face of the earth, and they had this one grad assistantship they needed to have filled for some of the fundamentals of oral communication class. And so they said, you want to come and do this? And I said, well, this was like just a few weeks before school started. And so they quickly channeled me through the stuff to get accepted to grad school, get enrolled in 6 hours so I could be teaching 6 hours. And I think it might have been that in that first year, Lloyd Ferrer was going to have directed a wonderful production called Meg. It was the life of Thomas More, but instead of being like A Man for All Seasons, it was told through the eyes of his daughter Meg and was called Meg. Beautiful, small cast production by Paula Vogel, but the story of Thomas More is told through the eyes of his daughter Meg. And Lloyd said, I think you need to do that, and that can be one of your project class events for while you're working on your master's.
As director.
As director. And so he was going to direct it. He loved the show and turned it over to me and said, I think you should do this. And it was only a 5-person cast. And so I thought, I can do this. I'd been through the directing classes and done some of the scene work and small production work and things. And so that was my first major directing project, was to do the production of Meg while I was working on my master's. And so that gave opportunity for a few more things, and continued while I was working on my master's, and even some things when I was out of college and would just go back as a community member to audition. So it was always a part. Remember when we had a live theater here in town, where CS Post is now, was that small semi-professional theater company. And then after about halfway through what was supposed to be the first year, it moved into more of a community-based thing. So I did some productions over there, both acting and directing. And and then off and on over the years, different things. I directed for Thomas More Prep Marion High School, their fall production for a number of years, and then started directing for Fort Hays, did Cabaret and Gypsy and some other non-musical straight shows.
Hays High.
And then Hays High for the last 4 years, which was an incredible experience. Loved working with the team of everybody out there, and directed Tuesdays with Maury for the community theater earlier this year, which I think they may even choose to revive with having the new space now when they're ready for it, because it would be a production ready to go. So we've even been talking about possibly reviving that, which I think would be wonderful, because Ray Brent and Bill Brown, who performed in it, were brilliant.
I talked to Ray about that, and I think that may actually come about. And for those of us who missed it the first time, an excellent opportunity and a beautiful venue that's come along.
It's going to be the perfect venue for a lot of kind of shows. I love that size theater that they're going to have. So big props to them. And so we may revive that, and I'll step back in and help get things resurrected in my capacity as director. But like I said, all the arts, and I've learned so much about so many different aspects of the arts, like through that Kansas Arts Today series that I did for 13 years with Smoky Hill Public Television.
Right.
It was like my art history, course, because I would visit with these artists on end, and that's when I learned so much about it. And then, you move on to going into the schools, and knowing the value of the arts when it comes to young people is a no-brainer. So, that's where a real passion is for me.
And Daryl McGinnis, who is a former board member, was quoted as saying, she made the Art Council known to the community of Hays. Daryl also said she gets things done.
You've got to, if you want to keep it happening. It can't just be, just all verbiage. It can't just be, the pomp and circumstance and the warm fuzzies. You've got to get those things into practical application. And when you do, that's when things happen. Going back to talking about the schools, I mean, the amount of young people that I say young people, some of them aren't so young anymore, you know, that were involved in famous figures or creative writing. Well, you know, if they were in 5th grade, you know, when we did the first famous figures, they're not so young themselves anymore. But it's amazing how many I run into that say they just love that experience, or the ones that have gone on to do that kind of thing in high school, or, you know, that lit a spark in them to do the plays and the musicals at the respective high schools.
Well,
because that permeates all of Ellis County, the Famous Figures Project.
Your children and your grandchildren too, as a matter of fact.
But the first year we did Famous Figures, my younger son Heath was in the 5th grade. So he was in the first time that we did it, and Heath will be 30 this December. And he was, now Joyce Yulk had developed the project previously, but it was dormant a little while, and then we picked it back up and have had it since then. But yeah, it would have been when my son Heath was in the 5th grade.
But look at what you've done here in the Arts Council to outreach the arts to the schools. That's been one of your main passions.
It has, because we know the arts make a difference in the lives of young people. They see the validity and the importance. So if that's something they're thinking of, if it's part of how they see themselves, and if you see it celebrated, I mean, if a young man, you know, has visions of like, I'd love to be an athlete, and you see, well, because you see it celebrated in our society, if you've got the talent and the passion and the drive, you see it as something worth aspiring to because you've seen it validated and elevated in our society. Well, if we validate and elevate arts and creative endeavors, whether it's graphic design or interior design, whether it's being a studio artist, whether it's teaching the arts, whether it's being a dancer or a director in a professional theater company, or designing jewelry, if you see it elevated and celebrated and acknowledged, then it gives validity to your passions and your desires. And it sort of like gives you the impetus to maybe follow through on that. And it's not just schools in Hayes or even Ellis County. We work with 12 elementary schools in 5 different towns in 3 different counties: Hayes, Ellis, Victoria, Plainville, and Russell, and the public and private schools. And even if those children never have careers or lives that are truly focused on or really directly involved in the arts, any career path you have, you know, if you're the head of some corporate financial business, you're going to have to give some presentations, and you're going to have to speak publicly and be aware of what you're doing and how you're doing it, and to be comfortable in front of people. So it doesn't matter what you end up going into, but it also gives you the opportunity to know those experiences were laid out for you. But for some students, it gives them a reason to stay in school when they've had experiences in the arts or those classes. And so it's really important to touch as many lives. And being out here in a rural part of our state, if we're not doing it, there isn't somebody else logical to be doing it. And so it's really, really wonderful. In fact, at Plainville, they had a change in the principal position at the grade school, and the superintendent's going to also be the principal there. And because she didn't get the information, because I didn't realize that the gentleman that was there wasn't there, she actually contacted me and said, you know, we always do this, and I just hadn't gotten anything, and I wanted to let you know who I am and make sure you knew we still want to do this. We want these experiences for our young people. And so that's really, really, that's really validating. That's really satisfying to know that the schools want to be part of this. Whether it's the creative writing contest, that you see kids excelling, that the parents go, I never knew my child could do this. You know, because that may be a more quiet passion with the poetry and the short stories. And so you really just never know when you're going to touch a life in a way that for that little moment in time, there has been a spark lit or a corner turned. It doesn't happen all the time, but you never know when it's going to.
And associated with that, Brenda, are the major productions that you have been able to bring in to Western Kansas for children to experience, theater productions that they might not otherwise be able to see.
Absolutely. We're doing Wichita Children's Theater again this fall, but in the middle of January 15th, we're bringing in this year's big national touring production from Dallas Children's Theater, which is like one of the biggest and best in the country. It'll be playing in huge houses from the East Coast to the West Coast, and people will be spending $15 and $20 a ticket for their production. Big musical, an adaptation of Roald Dahl's The Big Friendly Giant. And like I said, Dallas Children's Theater is one of the best. And we'll be having that for school children during the day, that'll be for 2nd and 3rd graders during the day, but then we'll be having a public performance. And in fact, I may even get to do that on Saturday, the 16th. So we can even have a bigger draw from more of the communities around, the same kind of people who put the kids in the car to drive to the Bicentennial Center to see, you know, Sesame Street Live or something, and because this will be that level of a production, very expensive, very big production, and it is fun to bring all of that. So you want to have creative writing, you want to have theater, you want to have music, you want to have the visual arts, and we don't do as much of that in the schools, of course, but we're very fortunate that even though things have been decimated dramatically, we still have a certified music educator and a certified visual art educator, even in our elementary schools here in Ellis County. And so, you know, it's like, no, that is under control. That's good. So we'll do the things that augment the experiences that don't happen on a regular basis in the schools.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because as the oldest arts council in the state of Kansas, it's something that unfortunately has fallen by the wayside by some views.
It has, and there are a lot of good organizations that are either that are so stripped down now or are non-existent. And here in Hayes, our community, or in this area, because we've got some members that aren't from Hayes, but the membership values what the organization does and what happens and who it's provided for, that I can honestly say we haven't missed a beat. The Hayes Arts Council hasn't stripped one program or compromised anything that we've been doing, and that's due in part because, I mean, I've got the scrapbooks here yet that you know, Kate Murmas put together that has every article of things going on. That was like my Bible when I started, and so that also gives you a truly infused passion to know that's why you've got to do what you've got to do, because those people worked hard. They laid a great foundation, and they gave you all the pieces to the puzzle. Just keep making sure you put it together right. And so you really have a sense of obligation and responsibility in the good way to not mess that up, you know. And yes, a lot of things have grown and changed and been enhanced since then, but it was laid down in a really, really strong way. And they took everything really importantly. And so I think the community has a real sense of vested interest and a sense of ownership and pride in what we offer. Because when you see like the Art Walk, Friday, August 28th, we clicked off, because we click off every man, woman, and child, and I had somebody at the door all night long. We clicked off over 1,450 bodies that came through here. And those were bodies, some of them with wheelchairs and canes and walkers, some of them with baby strollers, some babies, you know, out for their first excursion, 1 month old, and here they're coming in with their papooses and their babies. We love it. And everything in between, you know, art collectors and people who just love to look. And when you consider that probably another 200-300 people were engaged in some way that never came through here because they were at one of the other places, or it was too full, or they were musicians on the streets, that means that somewhere probably between 1,650 and 1,750 people were involved, participated, celebrated, were part of in some capacity the Fall Art Walk. That's pretty amazing. I mean, other communities in Salina, Topeka, Lawrence, Wichita, they'd be thrilled to be able to claim what we were able to claim on Friday, August 28th.
And if you want to see part of that, it's available on the Hayes Arts Council Facebook page.
Absolutely.
Right?
Lots of pictures on our Facebook page. Just go to Hayes Arts Council on the Facebook page. And even better yet, the gorgeous exhibit that we've been highlighting in here will be up through the airing of this show. It will be up through October the 8th.
Matter of fact, that's what we certainly needed to mention for sure.
Yes, it's gorgeous. This is the work of Leon Staub and Mick Yog. Photography by Leon, these gorgeous paintings by Mick, who's not known for doing floral works. It's been a one-year project
Breathtaking.
specifically for this exhibition. And they've been absolutely stunning, incredibly well responded to. We've never had sales like we've had for this show. But if you're in town for some of the high school homecomings, the university's homecoming, and you're around the downtown area, stop in, because this will be up through October the 8th. The live floral creations, who are furnished by the great people at Flowers by Francis, Dillon's Floral, C.S. Post and Company, and Big Creek Floral in Ellis, they're gone, but these gorgeous flowers will be up for a while.
And speaking of art walks and Arts Council activities, 5-State Photography, which has been an annual event.
Yes.
Also coming up, you'll have your Winter Walk,
Yes,
which is
that
coming
will,
up.
Friday, December the 4th will be the Winter Art Walk. So if anybody out there is listening and wants to participate as a site venue or as an artist or in music or in any kind of a capacity, just get in touch with us and I'll tell you how that works. It's not complicated, there's no fees, and it's wonderful. And it'll be anchored, of course, like you said, by our big 5-State Photography. Those call for entry brochures are at the printers right now. Got a wonderful judge, Randy Brown from Denver, professional photographic artist, commercial business, also a teacher at an art institute out there in both digital photography and traditional darkroom. It's going to be a great judge, and it's going to be another wonderful show. And so if you're interested in that, give me a call or email us or something, because I'll get you the information so that you can enter it as well if you like, because there's no parameters as to who you are or what level of experience. You are a photographer, you want to enter work, it's open to you. It's open to anyone.
And in addition to that, of course, back to the issue of support, because so many of these programs, so many of these events and such are made possible by community support, membership, businesses, organizations, groups supporting the arts.
Absolutely. Well,
in Ellis
like
County.
with the 5-state photography, we give out 1,500 in cash prizes. We print, prospectuses and catalogs and invitational brochures that we send out, and the art walk lists. We have to hire a professional judge, and we want somebody good, so it's not chump change. Like I said, 1,500 in cash prizes and the big reception. So there are a lot of expenses associated with that, and the entry fees would never take care of everything. So for instance, in the case of that one, Bank of Hayes, Eagle Communications, and Hayes Daily News are our corporate sponsors to help defray some of the expenses that go with having a really wonderful large project like this. And we will have lots of people from eastern Kansas, Colorado Springs, Ardmore, Oklahoma. They'll be here the night of the opening. So they eat here, they buy gas here. If they do drive home, a lot of them will stay overnight in hotels. So there's even an economic factor, an economic impact that is part of that. I've had Gella's Diner tell me on multiple occasions, they're never busier than they are when we have an art walk. And we're a 501c3, so although contributions to us are tax deductible, corporations respond that way in our membership gifts, but we pay sales tax on everything we buy. We pay property taxes, we pay insurance, utilities, so we do, in addition to the guests that we're able to bring to our community, there is that economic impact that even a small organization like us can have that permeates the community as well.
And one of the final things that we certainly want you to visit when you do visit the Hayes Arts Council is the gift shop, newly redesigned thanks to the work and efforts of the executive director, who also did everything from pulling up the carpet to refinishing the floors and redesigning the entire gift shop.
And it looks good.
It looks
and people
great.
responded well. Everybody's so happy when they're in there. It's wonderful.
And she
it was
gave me a
overdue.
tour. And particularly standing out were the bird feeders or the bird waters.
Yeah, there's some great in the gift gallery, some gorgeous decorative ceramic things at any time. We've got the wonderful dinnerware by Steve Coburn, beautiful but totally functional. And then an artist that we worked with years ago, and I brought some of his things back, Bear Hollow Pottery out of Pineville, Missouri. And that's the gorgeous ceramic bird feeders. So they're original design, wheel thrown things and formed and shaped by hand, but bird feeders, bird baths, these wonderful ceramic yarn bowls in gorgeous glazes, and something that's gone over like gangbusters, these little wonderful original handcrafted ceramic flower frogs that sit on the top of like a mason jar or another kind of a vase for putting a few posies in just a wonderful oversized vase. And I've sold over 3 dozen of them. I was glad he just brought me another 3 dozen when he passed through here last weekend. But yeah, there's a lot of cool things in there. Some original paintings, smaller paintings that'll be on display if somebody's looking for that. A big book of Mick Yogg's fine art etchings. Steve Trammell's beautiful wood-turned vessels. So there's some really awesome things in there for gift ideas. So yeah, always remember, come by for some very nice, very affordable gifts, from everything really small, like those flower frogs, to quite frankly, some really luxurious paintings that we sometimes keep in there as well. And
stay tuned for further information from the morning show on her regular monthly visit with Boomer and Mike on KAYS 1400 AM in Hayes, and of course on the Hayes Arts Council website as well.
Right, www.hayesartscouncil.org. And again, I throw lots of great stuff up on our Facebook page, so definitely like us. I'm so excited, we're at like 1,200, almost 1,200 likes now. And the people who follow us are from all over the country. They just want to see what's going on here in Hayes. And so I think that, we can kind of help elevate the status of this great community a little by showing what we're about.
Boundless energy and enthusiasm for the arts in all forms. I think that's going to mean a continuation of success with your help and support for the Hayes Arts Council and Executive Director Brenda Meder.
Thank you, my friend.
Our Community Connection. Thanks for watching.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
There's not any words to describe their kindness.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible. Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
They saved my life.